Obi-Wan Kenobi once said to Luke Skywalker, "Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them." This can hold true when officiating swimming. It is not an easy task. There are many things to look for, and at times, something may seem to be one thing when it is actually another. In this video, we are going to discuss the rules that govern each individual stroke, the individual medley, and the rules for relays. The strokes we'll cover are butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. In addition to the rules for the actual swimming of these events, stroke mechanics, starts, turns, finishes, and relay exchanges will be covered. We will also talk about the best place on the pool deck to observe swims for the most fair and equitable officiating. As an official, keep in mind the golden rule of officiating. The swimmer always gets the benefit of the doubt. Now, let's get to our strokes. The first stroke we are going to cover is the butterfly. After the start, and at each turn, the swimmer's shoulders must be at or past vertical toward the breast. This swimmer is past vertical toward the back. This is illegal. After the start and each turn, the swimmer is allowed one or more leg kicks, but only one arm pull under the water. This pull must bring the swimmer to the surface. As mentioned, a swimmer may kick as many times as they like underwater, as long as the swimmer's head breaks the surface before or at the 15-meter mark. The 15-meter mark should be well marked on the lane lines so the official can clearly see if a swimmer is submerged longer than 15 meters. The official at the end of the pool should observe the swimmer from over the lane. If the swimmer kicks out on her side, the official must determine that the swimmer is not past vertical toward the back. To determine if the swimmer is past vertical toward the back or breast, the official must observe the relative position of the upper shoulder to the lower shoulder. Sometimes the distortion from the water's surface and the movement of the water can interfere with an observation. From the side of the pool, it is not always possible to observe the swimmers until they have broken the surface before or at the 15-meter mark. Both arms must be brought forward over the water and pulled back simultaneously. Both of these swimmers are complying with the rule. This swimmer is swimming the butterfly illegally because the arms are not moving simultaneously. In the butterfly, the arms must recover over the water. All up and down movements of the legs and feet must be simultaneous. One foot may be higher than the other. If the foot position changes, the official must observe an alternating action for a disqualification. This swimmer is legal. This is an example of observable alternating action and is a violation. A scissors or breaststroke kicking movement is not permitted. From the side of the pool, the best position to observe a butterfly race is slightly behind the slowest swimmer with a clear view of all the assigned lanes. When the swimmer comes to a turn or finish, the body will be on the breast. The touch shall be made at the turn or finish with both hands simultaneously at, above, or below the water's surface. The hands don't have to be on the same plane, but must touch simultaneously. That is, one hand can be above the water and one below, as long as the hands touch at the same time. Remember, you judge the touch by the hands. After the last pull into the wall, you are not concerned with the position of the shoulders as long as the swimmer remains at or past vertical toward the breast. Once the two-hand touch has been made, the swimmer may turn in any manner desired. The shoulders must be at or past vertical toward the breast when the swimmer leaves the wall. It is important to watch a turn closely. The turn judge at the end of the pool should observe that the swimmer uses proper stroke into the wall. When the eyes shift from the full body to the two-hand touch, they should not shift back. It is important that the official focus on the actual touch, because many swimmers touch the wall very quickly with both hands, and then one hand will immediately leave the wall. In other words, both hands touch, but one hand just brushes the wall and then is off again. An official observing the turn too late may wrongly think the swimmer didn't touch with two hands and make an incorrect call. When the swimmer leaves the wall, the official should watch the feet leave the wall and then check to see that the proper body position has been attained. Remember, if you are not completely sure of what you observed, then the swimmer gets the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes, a swimmer will miscalculate their distance from the wall and make an underwater recovery to make up the distance. This is not legal because once a backwards pull has begun, it must be followed by an overwater recovery. All of these swimmers are in violation since backwards pulls are started but are not followed by an overwater recovery. We've gone over all the points for butterfly, so let's move on to the backstroke. Unlike the other strokes, when starting the backstroke race, the swimmers shall line up in the water. The position of the hands and the toes before the start are the responsibility of the starter. At some competitions, a judge may be assigned to observe the position of the feet. Standing in or on the gutter or curling the toes over the lip of the gutter is not permitted. After the start or turn, some swimmers may kick out on their side. This is legal as long as the swimmer remains past vertical toward the back for this portion of the race. They can stay submerged for not more than 15 meters. At that point, the head must break the surface of the water. The backstroke is basically as the name implies. The swimmers shall push off on their back and continue swimming on the back throughout the race. Some part of the swimmer must break the surface of the water throughout the race, except after the start and every turn, where the swimmer can be submerged for not more than 15 meters. This swimmer's chin breaks the surface at the 15-meter mark. This is a portion of the head, so this is legal. When observing the swim mechanics of the backstroke, the judges shall observe that the swimmer remains on the back. From the side of the pool, the stroke judge shall observe that the head breaks the surface of the water before or at the 15-meter mark. Some part of the swimmer must then break the surface of the water throughout the race. When turning at the end of each length, some part of the swimmer must touch the wall. During the turn, the shoulders may be turned past vertical toward the breast, after which a continuous single or double arm pull may be used to initiate the turn. Once the body has left the position on the back, the swimmer shall immediately initiate the turn. The swimmer must return to the position on the back or side passed vertical toward the back upon leaving the wall. In plainer language, the swimmer can rotate to their breast and take a single or double arm pull and continue kicking as long as it is part of the execution of the turn. After a swimmer rotates past vertical toward the breast to turn, they may take one single or double arm pull into the turn. They may not take more, even if they find they are too far from the wall. This swimmer should be disqualified. Once the hand or hands complete the pull, then the swimmer must execute the turn. The head coming up can be legal as long as it is part of the execution of the turn. This swimmer is legal. The swimmer may kick while turning as long as that kick is part of the execution of the turn. The swimmer may not kick into the wall to make up distance before turning. This is an illegal turn. After turning past vertical toward the breast, the swimmer has to immediately initiate the turn. This swimmer is performing an illegal turn. As it can be a difficult turn to judge, let's look again at some legal and illegal backstroke turns. It is not legal for a swimmer to push off from the wall on the breast and then rotate to the back. This turn is legal as the swimmer immediately executed a turn. This turn is illegal because two single arm pulls are taken into the turn. This turn is illegal because the kicking is to make up distance to the wall and the swimmer did not immediately execute the turn. However, this swimmer's turn is legal because although there is kicking all the way through the turn, the swimmer immediately executed the turn. Like the previous swimmer, this swimmer is turning very slowly. As long as the arm is moving, the turn is being executed. This is a legal turn. Another form of a legal turn is when the swimmer touches the wall while on their back, then turns in any manner as long as they are at or past vertical toward the back when their feet leave the wall. It is legal when a swimmer begins to rotate past vertical toward the breast, but touches the wall with some part of their body before executing the turn. The swimmer may then turn in any manner as long as they are at or past vertical toward their back when the feet leave the wall. A swimmer may not scull back to the wall if they turn too early and miss touching the wall. The backstroke turn can be a difficult turn to judge. Remember, if you are unsure of the call, the swimmer always gets the benefit of the doubt. When observing the turn, the judge at the end of the pool should stand over the lane. Once the swimmer passes vertical toward the breast, you should observe that all actions of the swimmer are associated with the execution of the turn. Also observe that the swimmer is past vertical toward the back when leaving the wall. The official should watch the feet leave the wall and then check to see that the swimmer is past vertical toward the back. The key to judging the backstroke turn is to observe the whole body. The arm pull initiates the turn and must be followed by the execution of the turn. When finishing the backstroke race, the swimmer must touch the wall while on the back. The race is finished when any part of the body touches the wall at the end of the prescribed distance. When observing the swimmer at the finish, make sure they do not completely submerge prior to the touch. As you shift your focus to the touch, do not look back. The race is over. Now that we've gone over the backstroke, let's take a look at the breaststroke. The breaststroke probably has the most variations of technique of any of the strokes. In a single race, you might observe many distinct styles of swimming, and they might all be legal. However, there are some definite rules to the stroke, so let's take a look at those. From the beginning of the first arm stroke after the start, and after each turn, the body shall be on the breast. While still submerged after the start and after each turn, the swimmer may take one arm pull completely back to the legs. A single downward butterfly kick is permitted any time after the beginning of the first arm stroke and must be followed by a breaststroke kick. The head must break the surface of the water before the hands turn inward at the widest part of the second stroke. If the swimmer does more than one pull or downward butterfly kick or breaststroke kick, that is a stroke violation. These swimmers should be disqualified. During the pullout, the arms will move simultaneously and in the same horizontal plane without any alternating movement. The kick must happen after the beginning of the arm stroke. The turn judge at the start end of the pool should watch the swimmer during the pullout, looking for one arm stroke, one downward butterfly kick, and one breaststroke kick. The head must break the surface of the water by the widest part of the second pull. If the hands turn inward at the widest part of the second arm pull before the head breaks the surface, then it is a stroke violation. This swimmer should be disqualified. The turn judge should observe the swimmer during the pullout to make sure the head breaks the surface of the water before the hands turn inward at the widest part of the recovery of the second arm pull. When officiating breaststroke, watch the whole body, not just the pull or just the kick. From the beginning of the first stroke after the start and each turn, the body shall be kept on the breast. The arms shall move simultaneously and in the same horizontal plane without any alternating movement. The hands shall be pushed forward together from the breast, on, under, or over the water. The elbows shall be kept under the water except for the last stroke at each turn and the finish. The hands shall be brought back on or under the surface of the water. The hands shall not be brought beyond the hip line except during the first stroke after the start and each turn. Some part of the swimmer's head shall break the surface of the water during each cycle of one arm pull and one leg kick in that order. This swimmer's head did not break the surface during the stroke cycle. This is a violation. All vertical and lateral movements of the legs shall be simultaneous. The feet must be turned outward during the propulsive part of the kick movement. A scissors, flutter, or downward butterfly kick is not permitted. This swimmer should be disqualified. Breaking the surface with the feet is legal and shall not merit a disqualification unless followed by a downward butterfly kick, which will be discussed in a few moments. This swimmer is not in violation. A legally swum breaststroke may look very different from swimmer to swimmer, but the one kick will always follow a single arm pull. Many breaststrokers have an undulating motion to their bodies when swimming, almost a dolphin movement. This is perfectly legal as long as the swimmer is not using a downward butterfly kick during any part of the kick and is following the other rules of breaststroke. In fact, let's take a look here at two different swimmers, one swimming butterfly and the other breaststroke. You can see how similar the body movement can be between the two different strokes. The similarity can lead to some confusion and difficulty when judging the breaststroke. It can be hard to tell whether a swimmer is doing a downward butterfly kick or if the feet are just following the hips as the knees pull them forward. Let's compare these three swimmers. The first is doing a legal kick. Even though the feet are coming down together in a manner similar to a butterfly kick, they are actually following the hips as the knees pull them forward. This second swimmer is doing an illegal kick. The downward motion of the feet occurs prior to the knees pulling them forward. This third swimmer is a tough call. Can you tell the relationship between the feet and the knees? This is a judgment call, hence the term judges. It is not easy to tell, but this one is legal. Remember, if you aren't sure, then the swimmer gets the benefit of the doubt. At times, officiating can be difficult, and sometimes where you are on the pool deck will decide how effective your observation might be for a particular race. Let's look at the swimmer with the illegal kick again from different angles. From the back and side, you can see the downward butterfly kick occurs prior to the knees pulling the feet forward, but from the front, it is very difficult to tell. The stroke judge on the side of the pool should also observe the swimmer performing the proper stroke with the head breaking the surface every stroke cycle. The best position from which to observe is slightly behind the slowest swimmer while watching the whole body. The turn judge should observe carefully as the swimmer approaches the wall for a simultaneous two-hand touch. The breaststroke turn is almost identical to the butterfly turn. At each turn and finish, the touch shall be made with both hands simultaneously at, above, or below the water's surface. The hands at the turn or finish don't have to be on the same plane, but must touch simultaneously. That is, one hand can be above the water and one below, as long as the hands touch at the same time. The head can be submerged after the last arm pull prior to the touch at a turn or the finish, provided it has broken the surface of the water at some point during any part of the last complete or incomplete stroke cycle. Once the touch has been made, the swimmer can turn in any manner desired. It is important to observe a turn closely. The turn judge at the end of the pool should observe that the swimmer uses proper stroke into the wall. When the eyes shift to the two-hand touch, they should not shift back. It is important that the official observe the touch carefully because many swimmers touch the wall very quickly with both hands, and then one hand will immediately leave the wall. In other words, both hands touch, but one hand just brushes the wall and then is off again. If an official does not observe both hands touching the wall, an incorrect call may be made. After observing the touch, the official should watch the feet leave the wall and then check to see that the proper body position has been attained. If a swimmer executes a downward butterfly kick early in the first arm stroke off the start or turn, calling a disqualification for a second downward butterfly kick can be especially difficult. Body undulation and or streamlining off the wall is normally legal unless you actually see downward movement of the legs or feet. This swimmer does an obvious downward butterfly kick off the wall before the first arm stroke and should be disqualified. This swimmer does a second downward butterfly kick after the breaststroke kick. This is illegal. If you are not completely sure of what you observed, then the swimmer gets the benefit of the doubt. Now, let's go over the freestyle. head of the swimmer must break the surface of the water at or before the 15-meter mark at the start of the race and after each turn. The stroke judge should stand at the 15-meter mark to ensure that the heads of all swimmers break the surface at or before that mark. In any event designated freestyle, the swimmer may swim any style. In the medley relay or individual medley event, freestyle means any style other than butterfly, backstroke, or breaststroke. Some part of the swimmer must break the surface of the water throughout the race, except at the first 15 meters after the start or a turn. The stroke judge should observe that the swimmer is not submerged after the 15-meter mark and that the swimmer doesn't pull on the lane lines or push off the bottom of the pool. Upon completion of each length, the swimmer must touch the wall. The swimmer may turn in any manner desired as long as contact is made with the wall at the end of each length of the race. If the swimmer misses the wall while turning, it is permissible for that swimmer to go back and touch the wall before continuing the race. If the swimmer misses the wall and fails to return for the touch, it's a violation. The swimmer has finished the race when any part of their person touches the wall after completing the prescribed distance. And that does it for freestyle. Now let's test your powers of observation. We'll show you swimmers performing the different strokes. You should be able to recognize the infractions. We'll start with the butterfly. Here are 5 different swimmers. You make the call. Swimmer number 1. Swimmer number 2. Swimmer number 3. Swimmer number 4. Swimmer number 5. Let's see how you did. Swimmer number 1's arms are not moving in a simultaneous manner. This is not legal. Swimmer number 2 is doing an underwater recovery. This is not legal. Swimmer number 3 is swimming legally. Swimmer number 4 does a one-hand touch. This is illegal. Swimmer number 5 is not passed vertical toward the breast when leaving the wall. This too is not legal. Did you do okay with the butterfly? Good. Here are 5 swimmers performing the backstroke. Swimmer number 1. Swimmer number 2. Swimmer number 3. Swimmer number 4. Swimmer number 5. Swimmer number 1 rotates to her breast too far from the wall. Remember, the turning motion must be continuous, so this turn is not legal. Swimmer number 2 does a slow but legal turn. Swimmer number 3 kicks out on the side but is passed vertical toward the back. This is legal and no violation should be called. Remember, only if the swimmer is passed vertical toward the breast is this not legal. Swimmer number 4's head is still submerged after the 15-meter mark. This is not legal. Swimmer number 5's head breaks the surface of the water at the 15-meter mark. This is legal. Ready to move on to the breaststroke? Here are 3 swimmers performing the stroke. Swimmer number 1. Swimmer number 2. Swimmer number 3. Let's see how you did. Swimmer number 1 turns legally. This is an example of how quick a brush touch can happen. But if we watch in slow motion, you can see that the swimmer does indeed touch the wall with both hands. Swimmer number 2 breaks the surface of the water with the feet, but the feet are just following the hips as the knees pull them forward. This swimmer is swimming legally. Swimmer number 3 does a definite downward butterfly kick during the pullout, followed by a breaststroke kick. This is legal. Now we'll finish up with a couple of easy ones for the freestyle. Swimmer number 1. Swimmer number 2. Swimmer number 1 is doing the breaststroke. This is legal as long as it isn't during the designated freestyle leg of the individual medley or medley relay. Swimmer number 2 misses the turn and does not go back to touch the wall. This is a violation. And that leads us to the final segment of our video, the IM and relays. The individual medley is made up of the 4 strokes in the order of butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. Each stroke is governed by the rules prescribed earlier for each individual stroke. For instance, at the beginning of the IM, the butterfly leg, the swimmer's shoulders must be at or past vertical toward the breast. The swimmer is permitted 1 or more leg kicks, but only 1 arm pull. The arm pull must bring the swimmer to the surface of the water, and the swimmer can stay submerged for not more than 15 meters. By that point, the head must break the surface of the water. You see, the rules are identical to the start of butterfly that we discussed at the beginning of the video. Also, the intermediate turns within each stroke shall conform to the rules of that stroke as shown earlier. The turns when changing from one stroke to another shall conform to the finish rules for the stroke just completed. Let's now look at those various transitions. When changing from butterfly to backstroke, the swimmer must touch the wall while on the breast with 2 hands simultaneously at, above, or under the surface of the water. Once a legal touch has been made, the swimmer may turn in any manner, but the shoulders have to be at or past vertical toward the back when the swimmer leaves the wall. Remember, like in the butterfly and breaststroke turns we discussed earlier, the swimmer may execute a brush touch that can be perceived as only touching with 1 hand if not observed carefully. From the backstroke to the breaststroke, the swimmer must touch while on the back. Once a legal touch has been made, the swimmer can turn in any manner, but the shoulders must be at or past vertical toward the breast when leaving the wall. Prior to the first arm stroke, the swimmer's body must be on the breast. Many elite swimmers use the crossover turn when transitioning from backstroke to breaststroke. The swimmer brings the lead arm directly over the head and makes the touch just before their shoulders get past vertical toward the breast. This is legal as the swimmer is still past vertical toward the back when they make the touch. However, these swimmers touch after the shoulders are past vertical toward the breast. This is not legal. When observing the backstroke to breaststroke transition, the judge should focus on the feet leaving the wall and then check to see that the shoulders are past vertical toward the breast. When transitioning from the breaststroke to the freestyle, the swimmer must touch the wall with 2 hands simultaneously at, above, or under the surface of the water while on the breast. The head may be submerged after the last arm pull prior to the touch, as long as it breaks the surface of the water at some point during any part of the last complete or incomplete stroke cycle preceding the touch. After the touch, the swimmer may then turn in any manner desired. The swimmer may then finish the last 1/4 of the race in any manner as long as it is not in the style of butterfly, backstroke, or breaststroke. The position for observing each leg of the individual medley and the turns, starts, and finishes are the same as outlined for each stroke. From the individual medley, let's move now to the medley relay. In the medley relay, there are 4 swimmers on each team, each swimming 1/4 of the prescribed distance continuously in the following order: backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, and freestyle. The rules of each of the different strokes are applied. At the end of each leg, the finish rule for each stroke applies in each case. The observation of the medley relay is as shown for each of the individual strokes. The difference in relays is the observation of the relay takeoffs. The key to relay takeoffs is to watch the feet of the swimmer on the block. When the feet of the swimmer on the block lose contact with the starting platform, look down to see if the incoming swimmer has touched the wall. If the swimmer has not touched yet, then the takeoff is early, and that is a violation. This swimmer obviously takes off too early. In the freestyle relay, there are 4 swimmers on each team, each to swim 1/4 of the prescribed distance using any desired strokes. Freestyle finishes apply. Yes, that means the medley relay order can be swum during a freestyle relay. The rules for the freestyle relay are the same as for the individual freestyle race. The observation techniques are the same as for the individual freestyle race. And the rules for observing takeoffs are the same as for the medley relay. Basically, watch the feet of the swimmer ready to go. When both feet lose contact with the starting platform, look down and see if the incoming swimmer has touched. If the swimmer has not touched yet, then the takeoff is early, and that is a violation. That completes our relay segment and brings us to the end of our video. But before we go, here are some final thoughts on officiating. Remember that you are part of a team with your own role on that team. Your area of jurisdiction will be determined by the referee and may vary from meet to meet. Only make calls within your jurisdiction. Call only what you see, not what you expect to see. If you make a mistake, don't be afraid to admit it. Make it a practice to get to know coaches. Expect coaches to be emotional advocates for their athletes. Your job is to stay cool and hear them out. You may learn something new. Explain exactly what was seen, what the rule is, and how it applies in this case. If you have already established credibility with the coach, these emotional events have a way of passing more quickly. The goal of this video is to help us all have a common understanding of the rules and how to apply them. A key to uniformity in officiating is being in the correct position on the deck for viewing the swimmer. We hope this video has been helpful to you. Remember, we are here to help keep swimming fair and equitable. And if you are ever unsure of the call, the benefit of the doubt goes to the swimmer.